Hey, welcome to Pat Soundbytes Unplugged in New York. Keeping new music alive is what I do on the radio and on video. And I got this cool cat. And I haven't figured any of this out yet. This whole Zoom thing, Kenneth, is off. But I got this guy right behind me, and he got a killer album that releases today. Keys to the Kingdom. He's a great soulful guitar player, songwriter. And man, what diversity on this album. And I could see me throwing a bunch of tracks on our rotation because it comes out today. So I'm talking to Mr. Kenneth Brian here, the Kenneth Brian Band. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. It's album came out today, and man, it feels good to get this thing out and rolling. And we got a whole lot of people reaching out and sharing it and buying it and listening to it, and a lot of good things happening, man. It's a good day. It's
a great day. The album out today, Southern Shift Records. 10 songs, and what I like is the whole diversity of Southern rock, Americana, country, blues, a little of everything you got covered. You know, it's great that folks are, you know, they're not just tied down to Southern rock or no, I'm just a rocker. You know, we were just talking about our buddy, my shirt and Billy. I mean, Billy is like, you know, there are no boundaries.
Oh, not at all, man.
You do what you need to do, and it's all good. And what we were just saying a minute ago is you recorded Keys to the Kingdom out in Joshua Tree. And what I said, I got to put on my Billy shirt. Billy's last album with Matt Sorum and Hardware with Matt Sorum and Austin Hanks was out in Pioneer Town. And so there's something about that. I know a couple of other bands that just we're out there, and it's a nice place to chill. What did you find? I know you wrote the songs ahead of time, but what did you get out of being out there, Kenneth?
Well, man, I lived out there when I first moved to California. I lived out there in Yucca Valley, right next to Joshua Tree, the next town over, because we had played at Pioneer Town at Pappy and Harriet's a bunch. When it was a little tiny place and nobody knew where it was, there was a bunch of wild dogs and bikers out there and stuff, literally. And so, I mean, I always loved it out there. And then I became friends with Dave Ketching, who owns the studio. Dave was in the Eagles of Death Metal and Queens of Stone Age and all those bands. And him and Hutch have that place out there. And I always wanted to record there. I went and hung out there a bunch of times, and me and my girl would stay out there. And it's like the first time we ever played Pappy's, man, I think I was like 23 years old. I didn't see it coming in. But in the morning, I woke up and I went, wow, I mean, it's like being on Mars or something. I mean, it feels like where time began or something. It doesn't look like anywhere else, you know? And so it's just got this sort of airy, spaced out vibe out there. You know, there's it's cool. It's like being in the country, but you know, you're absolutely just smack dab in the middle of the desert, and there's all the crazy, you know, Integratron alien stuff out there, and, you know, George Van Tassel, that whole thing, and the Graham Parsons connection, and the Jim Morrison, you know, he liked to go out there and just drive around. And I don't know, man, it's just that kind of a place where you either really, when you go out there, it's like Memphis or New Orleans or whatever, you go there and you're like, I love this or I don't, you know, like there's no, and you know, somebody like Billy Gibbons, I mean, he's always, you never know, like he was just there the week before we were there with Josh Homie, and I think they're doing a photo shoot at the studio for, I don't know, GQ or something. And Dave said that when Billy left, and Billy's always giving gifts and stuff, man, he's like Frank Sinatra or something, man. I mean, you know, and so he said when Billy left, right after he left, this car pulls up the drive and into the studio, and it's this guy, and he goes, they're like, who are you? He goes, Mr. Gibbons has some presents for you. Oh, and he had like gift packs and stuff, like for everybody, just for hanging out, you know, like hot sauces and ZZ Top stuff.
All his
I was like, man,
stuff.
that's awesome. You never know when that guy's going to show up out there or who's going to show up. Iggy Pop did a record out there recently. It's just sort of a magical place that you can kind of tap into that thing, and there's nothing out there to distract you, and there's just what you need and nothing you don't need. So, you know, it's not like being in the middle of LA or the middle of Nashville or whatever, where you're just sensory overload, you know.
Billy liked it that the cell phone was off, 3 months in the desert, tumbleweed, cactus,
absolutely,
a couple snakes, and like, what am I doing out here? But he said it was really good for the mind to just disconnect from what we're doing with everything and just focus on writing songs. And obviously they did a terrific job. And
Yeah, Austin,
I
man,
mean,
really good friend of mine from Birmingham, Alabama, and just one of my good buddies. I mean, for real, you know, people say that in the music business. Austin's really a good friend of mine, and him and Billy have the same birthday. That's how they met. Austin was playing at a bar in I'm probably revealing too much information here or something, but they were playing. He was playing at a bar, and Billy came in there, and you know, they got to talking about music and this and that. And Billy said, "Why don't you come and hang out with us?" And he said, "Oh, I can't, man. It's my birthday." He said, "It's my birthday." And so that's how they met, and they ended up, you know, becoming like, you know, real like best friends, man. So,
I want to say December 15th or 16th. I should know it because I always post it.
I don't even know.
Yeah, it's one of those days. I got to meet Austin. So Billy went on tour with Matt in Austin, and they played down in New York City. And Billy invited me as
Matt's
a guest
amazing.
of his. And
I got to jam with him when I lived in LA. He was in a band with my friend, with bass player at the time, Paul Ill, and man, just one of the nicest guys ever. He came out to see us play at this little bar in Palm Springs with his wife Ace, and it was like a charity thing, and there might have been 50 people there or something. And I mean, that's the kind of guy he is, you know. He's just a cool guy.
Cool guy. Good, a lot of good people there. So that is cool. I always start, Austin, is where did you find your love for music? I know you're born in Virginia and then in Gainesville and Nashville, LA. Where did it all start for you? Mom and dad musically inclined, or what did you see, or how did you say, I want to do that?
My dad worked for Fish and Wildlife, man. So we moved around a lot. I was born up there in Virginia. That's where my family's from originally. Came into Jamestown back in the day, a long time ago. And my grandpa in West Virginia played. He built his own fiddle, and he played fiddle, but he wasn't professional or anything. He started out a coal miner and ended up working on aircraft equipment. And I come from, you know, farmers and coal miners, and, you know, I don't come from musicians or show business people or anything like that. And when I was about, I mean, I don't remember anything else when I was little except for listening to Hank Williams and Alabama and BB King and whatever was around at the time, and gospel and church and all the bluegrass stuff, man, Bill Monroe. And I really liked Lester Flatt and all that. That's what I kind of grew up with first. And Billy too. Billy will tell you the same thing, man. But when I was about 11 years old, I tried to play fiddle a little bit, but I wasn't really that great at it. When I was about 11, one of these neighbors we had down the road was getting a band together, and he was kind of cooler than I was, older than I was. He said, "Hey man, you know, I'm getting a band together. You know, you want to play guitar?" And I thought, yeah, sure, but I didn't play guitar, you know. And so I just started using his guitar, and then I went out and when we visited my grandparents in West Virginia, we went to Wheeling, West Virginia, and I bought a $37 Strat copy with the money that I had. My dad lent me half of it, and I still have that thing sitting around somewhere. It was a Dixon Strat. Man, I never did anything else. I stopped playing baseball. I stopped caring about girls. I didn't really go to school anymore. I mean, I just would play all day. I would wake up with the guitar and keep playing, and it's just sort of took over my life, man. You know, and I love it. I still love it like I did when I started playing when I was 11, and I still love it like I did back then. You know?
And then you guys moved down to Gainesville, and my goodness, I mean, you know, Leonard Skinner, Tom Petty, I mean, a bunch of great musicians all coming out of that wonderful town. That area had to give you a lot of other influences to wake up to every day.
Absolutely.
This is cool.
We moved down to Gainesville when I was about 10, and so I started playing guitar here. And man, there's 9 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame members from one little town here. I mean, you got all the Petty guys. Bo Diddley lived right down the road. You got Bernie Ledden, Don Felder.
Oh, the Eagles.
Stephen Stills went to high school here. You know, Tom Petty started playing bass, you know, took lessons at Lipton Music from Don Felder. And, you know, and plus all the country stuff, like some of the greatest fiddle players, man, Vassar Clements and Chubby Wise and all these guys. And when I moved to Nashville, I was already used to having people around me that could really play, you know, down here. And so it didn't really scare the heck out of me like it did a lot of people moving there. You know, when I was playing on Lower Broadway in Nashville when I was 20 years old at the Bluegrass Inn and Roberts and getting the thing together, people would come in and they would last a couple weeks or a month or whatever, and they would be gone. And man, I don't know. I just growing up here gave me a kind of just a base to not only for the music, but sort of hard to scrabble. Like there was a big metal scene, punk rock and hardcore scene and stuff in Gainesville. And those guys are friends of mine. And and they had a whole different point of view than like going out and trying to get a record deal. They're like, no, man, you just put out a record, you get a van, and you just go. And that's what I did. So I took, you know, that attitude to this thing, and it's, you know, you just go out, play Birmingham, play New Orleans, get up to Chicago, Nashville, all these places, and you know, I mean, you might at the beginning you're not going to make a bunch of money, but you're going to have, you know, that's where those experiences I think are waiting for you. You know, making music around the house, and everybody can make a record now, but you don't have to leave your own environment. And sometimes it's really good to do that and get out there and you know, experience all those things. And you got to get knocked in the head a few times if you want to get back up.
There you go. And you start from the bottom, right? I mean, failure is good, and nobody could ever take it away. That, hey, I know what it was to drive 400 miles to the next gig in a van with 5 hours of sleep to make $50, just enough to put gas in the car. So
Absolutely.
I get it. And I applaud you for that. What was the idea to go to Nashville and try to expand and meeting other songwriters? I mean, back in the, I went to Nashville, like I want to say early 80s. And like you said, you know, Ernest Tubbs and Hank Sr. And nowadays I talk to every rock stars in Nashville, and I go, how the hell do they not know you? And they go, I wear Mark Slaughter. I wear a baseball cap. They're looking for me. They're looking for Keith Urban and Tim McGraw. I could go to Walmart. Nobody bothers me. So.
Exactly, man. It's changed a lot. I mean, I moved there in 2001, and it's a completely different town. It kind of looks like a little mini version of Chicago now. There's a crane and a building being built everywhere. When I moved there, there was a sort of an original country rock, rockabilly, Southern rock scene down on Lower Broadway, BR 549, Hank 3, the Shack Shakers, Joshua Black Wilkins. A lot of these people came out of that scene. And what we did, you're right. I mean, nobody cares unless you're little Jimmy Dickens. They don't care. You know?
Right.
And so I learned how to play these clubs for 4 or 5 hours. We did 4 or 5 hour gigs, and I used a different band all the time, you know, whoever we could get there. And we called it like hillbilly boot camp, you know.
I like that. That's a good one.
Those people didn't give you know, they wanted to see Travis Tritt getting a hot dog down at whatever.
Right.
So to keep them in a room drinking and listening to music was a whole thing, man. So, you know, so we did. I don't know. I loved living in Nashville. I did write there. I got a writing deal at Sony ATV for a while, and I never really had any cuts. I had some cuts, but I never had any hits. So I learned how to do that whole thing, but that really wasn't my bag. Writing with a team of people for a publishing, you know, that's not really the way I do things. So I've just sort of always been out on the road doing my own thing, man.
Well, hey, nothing wrong with that, and good for you having your independence and saying this is the way I'm going to do it. I don't need nobody to tell me how to do it. And talking about hits, you got Fallen Again, which is a great single. It's a great song, and I fell in love with Hard Heart.
Awesome.
Hard thing to change is a hard heart. I get that. I'm a lyric guy, so I want to hear something. I want to try to understand the story, but it's always up to the interpretation of the listener. Might not be what you were trying to make to put out there. But Fallen Again, I mean, holy crap. I mean, you've opened for everybody. I mean, ZZ Top and Skinner and Blackberry Smoke. What's the best advice, though, that Billy and Austin and all these guys can give a guy? You know, this isn't your first rodeo. Your first album, I want to say, came out in 2002. Yeah. Say, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to do? What's the best advice that they have provided to say, besides keep kicking ass and keep moving strong?
I don't know. I mean, you know, when you talk to somebody like Billy, I mean, Austin could tell you all about. Austin's, you know, been around for a long time and been he's like me. He's played to 10 people and he's played to, you know, 100,000 people. And those guys are all about music. I mean, Billy, he wouldn't even, it's like, I remember when I was a kid, Tom Petty's dad was on TV in Gainesville. Tom had come back and they were playing at the stadium or something, and they interviewed him. And he said, all he said was, well, I'm sure glad Tom made it, because if he hadn't, he'd be playing Casey's out in Archer. You know what I mean? He'd still be doing it. And if he hadn't had success, and that's how Billy, all these guys are. I mean, you don't really talk about, you know, music business, or there's so much of that stuff BS going on. And I'm no schmoozer, man. I'm terrible at that. It's just, you know, Billy's the kind of guy that can tell you who cut what on what record.
Oh my God, yes.
And I got a video of us sitting backstage at the Warfield, and he showed me how to play the Stormy Monday licks because he was there when it happened. And, you know, that's the kind of stuff that I think if you're out there doing it and you're just moving and you're doing your thing, you meet people. I've had more good things from being out on the road and meeting somebody at a gas station. You know, ZZ's manager, one of the managers that we got on those shows because, you know, we ran into him somewhere, and who are you guys, man? He came out to see us, you know, and, you know, I don't know. It's just, I don't worry about all that stuff. I mean, I just don't worry about, you know, I didn't get into it for that. And, you know,
you do it for it ain't about the money, because as I think Billy and anybody will tell you, hey, if it happens, it happens, but I'm still doing it because I want to, you know, I know so many people, and I'm sure you do. They go to work and they're unhappy. They're like, oh, I gotta get up and do this bullshit again. I'm like, yeah, do something that you want to do, and the money will come. And as long as you put in the hard work, and obviously you have put in the hard work, and you continue to put the hard work in. How did you become friends with Mike? Well, Gainesville, I guess. Mike Campbell and Steve Ferrone helped on this album. Man, got that little Tom Petty influence in there a little bit. I heard that in Key to Kingdom and Fallen Again.
Well, you know, that's what I was just saying about not caring about things and just being out there. We were on tour opening up for Lucinda Williams, and we were staying at Lucinda's house when she lived in LA. And me and the other dude that was in the band at the time, we went down to Starbucks in Studio City. And I swear to God, we're in line, and I go back outside. I'm not even paying attention. My buddy texts me and says, dude, I think Steve Perry is in front of me in line. I said, the dude from Journey? And so we get to talking to him. What are you guys doing here? We give him the album that just came out, and he loved it, man. And he actually like reached out. And so then he said, hey, come and hang out with all of us. And Steve Ferrone was there. And I was like, this is crazy, you know? So we ended up hanging out with Steve, and he said, hey, if you ever need anybody for anything, let me know. So I came back to LA.
Wow.
15 months later. We were doing a session with Mark Ford from the Black Crowes and my buddy Antoine down in Long Beach at the Compound. Didn't have a drummer. My drummer from Bama wouldn't come. So I called, man, I wonder if Ferrone will do it. And we call him, and I'm like, hey, you know, it doesn't pay anything. We don't know what's going to happen. And he goes, show me the damn drums, you know? And so he started playing with me, and he played with me for like, you know, 4 years. And, I only met Mike at shows, you know, I didn't know him. I got to be around Tom in the last few years of his life, and Scott Thurston played with me. I got to be good friends with him. He's a great guy. Learned a lot from them. But Mike, Steve told him about me doing a new record, and right after Tom passed, he was going to produce this new record. Mike was, so he came over to Steve's studio, and we started working on these songs, and it was just me, him, and Steve, and it was just great. We did 4 or 5 sessions where, you know, getting these songs together. Fallen Again was one of them. That little guitar lick is something that Mike started to come up with, and I sort of just took that and ran with it. And he ended up getting a gig with Fleetwood Mac and couldn't be able to produce the album. So when I did it later, I still incorporated those ideas. And he's just one of the greatest people ever, man. I mean, all these guys, and the stories that they have that I've been privy just to hear, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't even repeat them, but they're just like gold, you know? It's just, man, wow, you know, working with Johnny Cash and working with all these Bob Dylan and all these people. And
it's all about the stories, man. It's all about the stories.
But all those guys are just
normal, regular
music, man. And they never, you know, it's like when I grew up, you know, down here, it's like, you know, being here or Alabama or whatever, nobody talks about money. You never talk about money. It's impolite to talk about. And this guy's the same way. Everybody just talks about music. Nobody talks about, you know, what kind of car they got. Or my buddy from Germany, Gandalf, who's a documentary filmmaker, he's a huge Heartbreakers fan, and he couldn't believe Steve was driving an old Volvo from like 1989 or something. He goes, I cannot believe a heartbreaker would drive this car. And Steve said, what do you mean? It works fine. You know, it's like, so I don't know, man.
Right. You don't have to spend the money and have a Bentley just because you got a hit or something. Good for Steve. That is cool. Tell me about your songwriting process, Kenneth. Is it therapeutic? I mean, I obviously I think that's the answer, that you're able to, whatever life thrown at you, you're able to express musically into songs, and if they generate curiosity and people can relate to them and like it, more to power, right?
Absolutely, man. I mean, it's nice to be able to have an outlet. I know there's not a lot of people out there that, like you said, that are, you know, maybe not happy with what they're doing, or they don't have an outlet for how they feel. I mean, anybody can write a song. I mean, absolutely, some of the greatest songs in the world have been written by people that weren't songwriters. I don't really have a process that you know, that I do, that I sit down and try to do. It's just something will come to me, a riff usually, you know, and I'll put it on my phone these days, or I'll get a line like Hard Heart. You know, I was in Alabama recording, where I lived in Decatur, and I came back down to Gainesville. I took my mom out to this place called the Cypress Lounge out on the Gulf, or Cypress Inn, sorry. Cypress Lounge I used to drink at. The Cypress Inn in Putnam Lodge, and we were having, it was like Mother's Day, I think, or maybe her birthday or something. We're having dinner, and we were talking about a situation that I had just gone through with some people. And, you know, and she said, well, you know, somebody's got a hard heart, you know, you ain't going to change it, you know? And I thought,
bingo.
Yeah. Well, I remember going back to the truck. My dog was in there, still alive at the time, my Australian Shepherd, and I moved him over and I wrote that down, and I didn't think about it for a while, but then a couple of weeks later, I got this like little lick in my head, and then bam, just wrote the whole thing. And so when it happens like that, it's really cool. And I think that, you know, if I can write something down, it means something different to you than it does to me, than it does to somebody else. And, you know, I mean, if you can reach somebody and uplift them either with a riff or some lyrics or whatever, I think, you know, that's what it's all about. You know, you're doing your job at that point. And what a great thing to be able to do, you know?
Oh yeah. And there's got to be no better feeling than people are singing your lyrics back to you. Absolutely. When you open and you got your following and you go, people know the falling again. Or, I mean, I needed more. Yeah. I'm like, this album is great. And I started digging before we got on, and I found Shakedown and other songs that you'd done. And I'm like, wow, man. So when are we going to get you into New York there, my friend?
Where are you at in New York? You're upstate, or where are you at?
Well, an hour and a half north of New York City and an hour and a half south of Albany, near the Connecticut line. And we have Daryl Hall's house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, live from Daryl's house right in my backyard. So
that's awesome. I've watched some of those. Man, well, hook me up, man. Give me Daryl's number. I'll come up and do that. last time.
I will give you the booking agent's number, and you can go from there. But yeah, he loves blues and souls and rock and roll. And
the Peach Festival, I think we were trying to get on that. I think that's up in New York, though.
Yeah, that's up in Hunter Mountain. Yes.
We may be doing that. That just came through like last week, so keep your eyes out for that. Last time I was in New York, I think was with Lucinda. We played Albany at the Egg.
The Egg. Yes.
No, man, I'll tell you what. On the way out of there, I had this old van. I'm looking at it right now. I had 407,000 miles on it. We put every mile on it, you know. And we were at the end of that tour. That was the last show. And we're on the New York Thruway, and boom, something. I thought, well, we got 400,000 miles out of this thing, you know. Turns out it was the only belt that had never been changed. It was an easy fix, you know. It was just behind the water pump. But anyway, they come and they pick us up, and they put us on the back of a tow truck, and we're in the van. And so we get pulled to some place in the morning, and it was like not a great place, man. It was like a truck stop that you didn't want to be at, you know? Like, you know, crackheads and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So the guy, I think he thought we were some of those people, you know, because we looked a little rough, and he starts beating on the van window, you know. It's the mechanic, and he comes, you can't sleep here, you know. I can't do a New York accent, but you can't sleep here, you know, get the hell out of here. And I got up, and it's one of the funniest things I think I've ever said in my life. I said, are you the mechanic? I said, you know, we're here, we're waiting for you, we got towed in. He goes, you can't be parked here. And I said, look, gentlemen, there's no need for alarm. We're not amateur hobos, we're professionals. And the guy just looked at me like,
good for you,
guy, you know. But we ended up, the best part of that is a month later, I get back to Alabama where I was living, and I get a ticket from the New York Thruway for $80-some for going through without the Easy Pass. But I was getting
on the tow truck.
the picture of us was us in the van on the tow truck, and I tried to fight it. You can't fight New York. You can't fight it.
Oh no!
It ain't like being in Mississippi where you can just show up. No, they wanted their money. So I thought that was the best ticket I ever got on the back.
That is a great story, Kenneth. Where can everybody buy the go and preload your wonderful album, Keys to the Kingdom? Go to the KennethBrian.com, band.com, is it?
Yeah. KennethBrianBand.com, KennethBrian.com. But you can go to iTunes or Apple Music or Amazon or wherever you get your music. It's everywhere. It's on all those things. And or you can buy, I have one here somewhere. We have a bunch of these that we're sending out for promo, man. It's an actual CD. I mean, and we're going to have some vinyl too. There's a little bit of a lag right now with the supply chain stuff going on and getting vinyl. So it'll be a few months, but we'll also have that as well coming up. So, well,
great job, Kenneth. I love a lot of the tracks here. We're going to throw it on our rotation, and hopefully we got to get a video out. Any talk about a video for Fallen Again?
Video's coming out next month, man. Yep. We're gonna have one for that, one for Hard Heart, and another one coming up very soon. And yeah, man, keep your eyes peeled for that. We'll have a premiere of it and all that stuff. And man, you should get Austin on here. We should get Austin Hanks.
Oh my God, we got to get Billy on here. That'd be even better.
One and the other usually together follow pretty closely, man.
And we got to get everybody to go to your YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button as well, so you get to see all the videos, because that's where I was working on going, man, I want to hear more of this guy's stuff. So great diversity, great track, great album, Keys to the Kingdom. Go out and get it today. You can listen. It'll be certainly played on my show. And I wish you all the best. And when a video comes out or so, let Jody know, and we'll get you back on and see if we can drag Mr. Austin Hanks as well. And let us know if you got a tour coming on. Well, I'll tell you after we get off in a second about a few other things. But awesome. Best of luck, my man, Kenneth, and thanks for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you for having me. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll see y'all on the road, man.
There you go. Keep rocking, brother.